And now, the time fight fans all across the globe have been waiting for. It's the main card with your man, The Voice. As always, in the opposite corner, my mano y mano, my verbal sparring partner, Philly's finest, Wildress Ruffin, matching with his gray on gray. I see you. I see you.
I'm here, man. I can't let you show me up, man. I can't let you show me up. I'm excited. It's smoke o'clock, as always. I'm here with my verbal sparring partner, the man, the myth, the legend, with his own t-shirt on. He got a hat on, so of course ain't no halo. The Voice, how you doing, sir?
Oh man, I'm feeling fine. I told you last week, city in the house. Got my city hat back on. I meant to put on my city shirt, because I'll be out in these city streets doing that godly work. You know what I'm saying?
It's a lot going on. But it's also a lot going on the show today, man. We got an amazing show for y'all. Your man Money Mayweather, he's back, of course. And then, of course, we have an awesome UFC fight. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, is that back on? We're going to also talk about your man Izzy in UFC 305. And, of course, get into some of that WWE and NXT love. But first, Voice, let's get into these KOs and low blows. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Let's go. Now, Voice, many were expecting Izzy to come into UFC 305, return to dominance, do his dance, do his thing, and then come out with the win. What happened instead was many people left wondering if the middleweight great will still continue to fight after a tough loss. Working with Steel Knox, he was actually submitted in round 4, and I believe it was a face crank. And even after the fight, some of his comments left many people wondering what's going to be next for Israel Adesanya. Voice, what are your thoughts on that bout, and where does Izzy go next?
And I'm glad. See, you coming into your own. Coming into your own. Thought it was a face crank because it does look like that, but it was a real naked choke. But I'm glad that you know kind of where we going with things, boy. You can come a long way. Proud of you.
Doing my work.
Yes, you are. So where does he go from here? Like you said, many people were wondering, and I was as well. As soon as things ended, salute to Buffalo Wild Wings for carrying the fight. I went out there to watch it. Whoever was handling the sound, they're like, "Oh, okay, well the fight is over. Let's cut the sound and play some music." It was like, no, he took his gloves off. He ain't saying nothing yet. It was like, what are y'all doing? So ran over to the bar. I was like, hey, can you please put the sound on? Because I want to hear what's going on. All to hear him say, I'm not going anywhere, which is fine. That's fine for him to say. He said he felt good. That's a little dangerous because when you feel good, but you're not performing where you need to, that's usually when you get into fights and stuff and things go sideways for you. So hopefully he knows when to fold them. Going into this fight, I was concerned because he hasn't looked the same. And I was hoping the time off would give him what he needed. He could have like a Mayweather kind of comeback where he took off a couple years, got his hands right, came in, and changed things up. He looked good until he didn't. So coming back from that, it's like, what do you do? Because it's talking about Strickland and Du Plessis running it back. If Du Plessis wins, you got nothing. If Strickland wins, you might be able to get a rematch that way. I don't know, but you still have to fight in the meantime. Who do you fight? It's possible if, and we'll talk about the Caio Borrahlo and Jared Cannonier fight in a moment, or I should say later on in the show. But if Izzy, or I should say if Caio was successful, I could see him possibly fighting him. You got people like Nasruddin Imavov, who's out there and looking to make a name. That could be someone that he could fight, because he's really in gatekeeper status right now, because without a couple wins, the likelihood of him fighting for a title again is slim to none. What really is promising though is a certain former light heavyweight champion is talking about coming down to 185. And if that person does come down to 185, that will be the perfect fight for him to see if he's ready to move on to the next level. And that will be none other than Jiří Procházka. So again, it could go a number of different ways. But Jiří's the one that most people are excited about. Someone else who could be in the mix, maybe a fight or so down the line, would be someone like Bo Nix. If Hamzat lost to Robert Whittaker, I can see that fight possibly being made as well.
I mean, it's, a lot of people put a lot of money into that fight, believing that, especially with the way that Izzy was talking before the fight, that he was going to come in and he was going to dominate. If he were to decide to hang it up today, does he have anything else to prove?
Nope. Absolutely nothing.
Okay. And final question on that. Where would you rank him amongst the greats if he ended it all today, as far as his career?
I put him right behind Anderson Silva.
Awesome take. It'll be exciting to see exactly what happens next for Izzy. Like I said, he said he's not going anywhere, but a lot of people, even on social media, were just kind of like, his comments after seemed a little off. He didn't really seem like he was in a place where he should be fighting. So that'll be interesting to see. Make sure you continue to follow the main card and follow the Voice on X for any updates. I'm sure Voice will have it. Now, from one fighter who doesn't have anything else to prove to another fighter that we're wishing would just stop because you are one of the greats. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul seems to be back on, Voice. Apparently now the fight is back on for November 15th, but not before the two met up. The two did some media. Tyson, of course, also spoke to Logan Paul on his show. And during the show, he actually stated that it was an ulcer flare-up, which caused the bout to be pushed back. When he was asked by Logan about that dominant killer fighter of old coming back because that's what people wanted, Tyson actually talked about it and explained. He said, the killer version of himself wants to come back every second of my life. It's so easy for him to come back. Tyson said that he gets rid of the guy by loving his chicken and his family. But elsewhere in the video, when talking about his upcoming opponent, Tyson stated he is not viewing Jake as a YouTuber or an internet personality. Mike Tyson said, I look at him as a killer. That's how I'm going to look at him during this fight. And it seemed to continue on during the presser, where Jake, of course, showing off, stated, I'm here to make $40 million and knock out a legend. Don't give a F about anything else. He continued to add that Mike said that he wanted it to be a pro fight, so he's going to get knocked out and have it count against his real professional record. You're going to see on BoxRec, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Jake Paul KOs Mike Tyson. But then during the press conference in New York, Voice, Tyson was asked by Jake Paul if he wanted to change the rules so that the fight could be contested over 10 3-minute rounds. Jake Paul said, don't talk to me about shape. You want 10 threes? See, that's the thing there. Everybody is all talk, and I'll do whatever. Now, while Mike Tyson did refuse to agree to that rule change, he did tell Jake, be careful. You should be very careful. Voice, I love Mike Tyson. He's one of the greatest ever. I know what everybody feels, Voice, but me personally, I don't want to see this fight happening. Mm-hmm. What is the likelihood of this fight continuing to happen? And what do you think about Tyson's comments?
Tyson, of course, we're going to do the reverse first. Tyson is saying everything that he's supposed to say. As far as the killer and everything is concerned. Now, let me ask this question because I heard you say it, and I don't know if you saw my face when it was said. Did he say chickens?
Yes. Love on his chickens. Love on his children.
Okay.
And his family.
Okay. Thank you. Because I was like, I know he got pigeons, but he raising chickens now?
Well, yeah, because at first I did have chickens on there, and I meant to put his farm animals, his children, and his family.
Oh, so chickens,
Yeah, his chickens,
children,
yeah.
chickens, and the chickens are the children. Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to clarify that because that in and of itself is concerning. So, anyway, he's saying what he's supposed to say. He's hyping up a fight. He's selling everything. Those of us who covered this and watched this, we know that it was an ulcer flare-up. This ulcer flare-up happened on a plane, though. That's kind of interesting. I don't, what now. We know that Mike has had some issues on planes in the not too distant past with people, getting at him and trying to fight him and pick on him. But flying shouldn't, or I don't know enough about the anatomy, not the living anatomy, to say that flying would make you also flare up. But it made it flare up bad enough where they had to pull you off the plane and cancel, or I should say postpone the fight. Time is not on his side, but the money says he'll do it. Now, I don't want to see it happen, really, especially with this happening. I don't want to see it happen. Talking about what Jake Paul was saying, Mike had a real good statement for him not too long ago. He said, look, you couldn't knock out Anderson Silva, who is older than me. No, well, he's not. But Anderson Silva, who's old and nowhere near your weight. You gonna knock me out? Okay. The 2-minute rounds definitely favors Mike because it gives him more opportunity to reset and he doesn't have to go as long. Yeah, I really wish the fight was not happening, but like everybody else, I'm going to be watching it when it does. The undercard stuff are great. You got Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano fighting again. Another fight that I kind of almost wish wasn't happening. It's past its due date. Really, both fighters are diminished, and I'm really concerned about Serrano. But we'll talk about that more when the time comes. Mike sold it. That's what he's supposed to do. Jake is selling it. That's what he's supposed to do. The fight is going to happen because people want to see it, and we'll see what we get.
I mean, it's going to be November 15th. That's going to be on Netflix. Netflix has a lot of stuff coming to it in as far as sports in the later part of the year. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. We're only a couple months away. So continue to tune in. The main card is going to have you covered for it.
Absolutely. And speaking about sports that are coming to Netflix, we know that certain WWE properties will be broadcast on Netflix in the very near future. And because of it all being TKO and the UFC's contract coming up soon, it's highly probable that Netflix will be making a play for them as well, especially seeing as how the UFC helped to build Spike, then built Fox Sports 1. They didn't build ESPN, but they sure did build ESPN Plus. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, a nice segue into WWE. We're back to the TV title match because the producer named the show today, but he did not have anything to do with the wrestling portion. So recently, you got to go to not one, but 2 WWE events. Tell me the takeaways from I was gonna call it the Great American Bash, but I know that's not that already passed. But NXT, give us your takeaways from the recent NXT.
I love NXT. NXT is a weekly thing on Tuesday nights. They're actually preparing to move to the CW in a couple weeks. This is going to be along with the TV deal where NXT moves to the CW, SmackDown moves to USA, and Raw moves to Netflix. NXT is on fire right now. It's an amazing show. It's amazing. Right now they're doing a crossover with TNA, which is huge. The show was actually great. It actually continued to solidify the NXT No Mercy card, which is huge itself. We saw Jada Parker win the women's gauntlet match. She's going to be facing Roxanne Perez at No Mercy. Jada Parker is a star. If you've not seen her on X or Instagram yet, they love her. She's been on all the hip hop websites and everything, so that gives you a clue. And then TNA and social media's darling, Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. That song is so catchy. He's going to be facing Ethan Page for the NXT title after winning a 3-way bout between Pete Dunne himself and Wes Lee. And this is all thanks to interference from Trick Williams, who came in, dropped a couple bombs, and then got the referee in for the 1-2-3, which is amazing. Like I said, it's on fire right now. There's also rumblings that we could potentially see my favorite AEW star, Ricky Starks, premiering, since rumors of his contract have been up. Let me tell you something. Ricky Starks, if you love The Rock, you will love Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks is amazing. If you get a chance, go back and watch Ricky Starks matches. He's had some great matches against Daniel Bryan. He's had some great matches against CM Punk. He's very close to Cody Rhodes. Now, the NXT matchup card is actually huge, and it's going to be in about a week and a half, actually 2 weeks. So you're going to have the NXT Women's Championship match. That's going to be Roxanne Perez versus Jada Parker. You have the NXT North Americans Championship match, Kalani Jordan versus Wendy Chu. You have the NXT North American Championship match. That is Big Obafemi, who voice you would love, big Nigerian man, Obafemi, going against Tony D'Angelo. That's going to be a barn burner.
Sorry, let me fix my face. For those who don't know, you all know your man, the voice is Nigerian. I am Yoruba. My name is Olufemi. Oba means king, so he's saying he like King Femi. No, I'm royalty. I'm the blue blood for real. So
no, he's really Nigerian voice.
No, I understand he's really Nigerian, but I'm saying there was an Oba who had my name, my whole name. So yeah, when you say Oba Femi, that's that you really talking about me. So I don't appreciate him out here perpetrating my name in these streets, but I'm gonna let him have it because he's Yoruba. He's bringing glory to the people, so I'm gonna let him have it. But as you can see, it does make me sit a little bit sideways.
Well, that's a big man. I don't think you want to see him in the ring, boys, and I don't know if I can back you up if you fight him because I don't want those problems. But lastly, you also have the NXT Tag Team Championship. The tag team championship, that's going to be Chase U versus Axel and Nathan Frazier. They had a great match this past week on NXT, so it's going to be great. And we haven't even gotten to SmackDown yet,
right? Because you went to SmackDown, you showed all the videos from the box. When you VIP, you sit up in the box and see things. So tell us about SmackDown Orlando. We know that the week before that, the return of the original tribal chief, who has been getting a lot of shine lately in these social media streets, got the former face of the franchise in John Cena saying that he's the GOAT. Tell us about Orlando and SmackDown and John Cena's statements about the possible GOAT in the original tribal chief.
I mean, I can't fight the GOAT statement because he led WWE through the pandemic era. I mean, he's been there since about 2010. And one of the things John Cena spoke about was Roman Reigns has never been on the bottom of the card at any given time. He showed up with the Shield. They were on top. When he went solo, he was on top. Even when they didn't like him, Roman Reigns fought through it, and he was still a top guy in the company. I mean, there's a number of WrestleManias, there's a number of matches. His rivalry with Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins are amazing. Roman is that guy, and he's marketable, and he probably still has about a good decade left ahead of him, especially with the way that this bloodline story is continuing to go. Now, if you go to an Orlando SmackDown, if you're not sitting floor seats, you have to sit in the Legends section because it's the perfect seat. You got good food, you got good vibes, you got your arm room. I was in there like a king, voice, but it was an amazing card also. First you had the show started off with Mi Chen, who's been a thorn in the side of Nia Jax. She ruined her WWE Women's Championship match, Women's Championship celebration by coming in with a kendo stick and clearing the ring. I'm looking forward to seeing where that happens. What happens with that. My favorite match of the night, Carmelo Hayes, an NXT call-up former NXT champion. He defeated Andrade in what may have been the match of the night. Now, right now, it seems like they're on a collision course to do like a best of 7. Right now, it seems that I think it's 2-1 Andrade, and they have been putting on some bangers when they're going out there. I mean, high flying, power, everything. Melo is money, and like you say, Melo don't miss. Blair Davenport, I hated it, but she defeated Naomi. Naomi's my girl. That's Naomi is a Orlando favorite, and she's from the city of Orlando. Used to be an Orlando Magic dancer. She was Trinity in TNA, former champion there, former WWE Women's Champion also. She defeated her in Naomi's hometown return. I think we're gonna get another big 3 sighting with Naomi, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill kind of facing off with the tag team champions and Blair Davenport. That may happen at Bash in Berlin. Kevin Owens, one of my favorite wrestlers who I feel is constantly underutilized. He defeated Grayson Waller. But voice, what's funny is he was saved by Cody Rhodes after being attacked after the match. Those two will meet at Bash at Berlin on August 31st. But they kind of played a little bit with Kevin and kind of almost teased like a heel turn because Kevin had that chair and he could have gave it to Cody, but he didn't. So keep an eye on that over the next few weeks. The Street Profits. This was probably the second best match of the night. Shout out to the Street Profits. They defeated DIY to become the WWE Tag Team title #1 contenders. Of course, they're going to face the Bloodline. I think that's going to be an incredible match. And in the main part of the card, voice, Roman Reigns returned, took out Solo Sikoa, took out Tama Tonga, and then was laid out by Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu is a star. They brutalized Roman. They put him through the table. As you can see in the picture, Roman was actually able to get the Umafala back for just a brief second. Then he caught a super kick to the face from Jacob Fatu. They put him through the table, threw up the ones to end the show. Now, there were 2 matches after the show, which were dark matches, which are always great. You saw Delgado Fantasma's own names on the tip of my tongue, but Sami Zayn won that match. And then in the final match, Jey Uso and Damian Priest defeated Gunther and the Imperium team also. That was great. You heard Jay speak about, the loss of his family and what they're going through. So SmackDown was an incredible show. I love going to SmackDown and seeing it live. They always put on a great show. Last time we went to Raw, we had an incredible time.
Wonderful. Well, so glad that you had such a wonderful time and that you're able to give us that in the building kind of perspective. And you always bring great insight on the world of wrestling. When we get back, not quite wrestling, but some sideshow kinds of things have happened between Mayweather and Gotti in the past, but now they're going to do it again, brother, this time in Mexico, as well as UFC Vegas 96. Keep it locked. It's the main card.
It's not just about the love of the game. It's about dedication and commitment through the process and the patience to endure. There's joy in reaching your goals and peace in knowing you've done all you're supposed to do. Ozell brand. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle.
Why?
Why what?
What left does he have to prove, voice?
It's legalized bank robbery season, and I love it. And I love the love that he got there at the grand arrival in Mexico. You know, and I wrote an article about it, so go check it out on MTMV's app. It's both on Apple as well as on the Google Play Store. But in this, you have a man who many times, because he took Cinco de Mayo and made it a fight holiday. Many times he would come to the ring in a sombrero and a poncho. Why did he do that? He did that because his uncle and trainer, Roger Mayweather, who has gone on from us, but Roger was called the Mexican Assassin because of all of the Mexicans that he fought against and that he beat. And Roger used to come to the ring in a sombrero and a poncho. So it was a tip of the cap to what Unc did. And here you are in Mexico with a mariachi band. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Another amazing showing from the best ever. Now, seeing as how this is what we do, I'm gonna go ahead and lead in this week with what is the biggest fight of the weekend. Take it how you want. Now, it's gonna be a rematch bout between Money Mayweather and G.O.A.T III. Now, if you remember, voice, the last fight exhibition ended up looking like Mookie had just thrown a trash can through Styles when that melee broke out after Gotti threw a punch after being disqualified. And it actually caused both sides to enter the ring. It looked really, really nasty. Glad that it wasn't worse than it was. But if you ask Gotti, voice, he's more focused than ever. And according to him, he's looking for revenge. He stated, "This fight can dictate the course of the course of my future in this fight game. He's going to be met with bad intentions. After everything that happened last time, we'll see who backs up first. This is going to be a fight. It's going to be a very interesting night. Don't let Floyd fool you. He's taking this serious and he's coming to fight. I'm one of the only two fighters to have a rematch against Floyd. He's only the greatest fighter of all time. And being in the ring with someone of that caliber, the challenge excites me. I've seen him at his best. He hasn't seen me at mine." Now, Money had his thoughts on Gotti also. He said, "Last time I checked, I beat more fighters that are in the Hall of Fame than any fighter in the history, and that's truly a blessing. But Gotti is a tough competitor, and I take my hat off to him. He want to run it back? We can run it back twice, 3 times. It's kind of good to just showcase my talent and give people a glimpse of what I was doing when I was at the height of my career." I mean, it's hard to when Money still goes in the ring, voice, and he still competes in the way that he does, and he still puts on these boxing clinics no matter who he's fighting. You still want to see him, but at some point, when does he just kind of step back and go away? Now, this fight, it's more modest for him. He's getting about 20 to 25 million from this fight, I believe. And I think for Gotti, it's going to be dependent upon the numbers that they do. It's going to be on the DAZN at about $50 a pop. So, Voice, what is your take on this fight happening Gotti versus Mayweather 2.
Again, as I stated, leading off, coming in from the Ozell break, salute to Ozell. This is a it's legalized bank robbery season. And this time, they're robbing the bank in Mexico. Or I should say, he's robbing the bank in Mexico. I have, did my research and everything leading up to the fight and seeing what both parties had to say. And I watched the fight. This is why I'm pausing. I watched the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I say often that to be a professional fighter, you have to possess a certain level of delusion. John Gotti has it in spades. In spades. He was like, I took, Floyd's best punch, which he may have, because Floyd was just tagging him. He's like, and I he can hit, but I know what to do now. And now I'm comfortable. And now I'm going to come forward. It's like, okay. He's like, I was getting my rhythm. I was like, okay, so I get hit. So that's your rhythm. It's just getting hit. I didn't see anything offensively really that he had. And then he said he's going to beat Mayweather. Now, of course, even if he so-called won because it's an exhibition, it wouldn't go against his record. But Mayweather knows what you are about now. He knows what it is that you want to do. So you think he's going to come at it the same way he did before? You think that he doesn't have multiple game plans which he can implement? Like he said, I have beaten more Hall of Famers than anyone else. And at 47 years of age, or I should say 46, when he was fighting them last year, he made it look super duper easy. But it's going to be different this time. Probably will be, but the kind of difference, I don't think is the kind that Gotti really wants to have happen. That's I don't know. That's interesting.
A bludgeoning.
Look, and he had the red gloves, and he probably gonna have them again in Mexico.
I mean, what Floyd is doing, while it frustrates some, is still one of those things, like you said, he puts on a boxing clinic every time he enters the ring. Even when you see him practice, you can't help but admire it. So I hope that other fighters are taking a look at this. I mean, whether we like it or not, the boxing world has not been as exciting since Floyd Mayweather was in it. Whether we want to admit it or not, Floyd always took the big fights. He didn't duck or dodge anybody. And he made a spectacle of everything that happens. Shout out to Floyd Mayweather. Glad he's getting his flowers while he's still doing it. Hopefully at some point he'll slow down, because I don't want to see what's happening with Mike now, because I love Mike and I understand the situation. But moving on from that and going, boys, to UFC, back to the octagon. As a former middleweight champion, Killer Gorilla is my favorite name of all time amongst fighters, and Jared Cannonier has seen it all. Championships, wins against some of the who's who in UFC, and more recently, losses in the most controversial fashion, which can completely knock you off your peer and your title aspirations. Now, going into UFC Vegas 96, Killer Gorilla is back on the path in the main event when he faces a man 9 years his junior in the 16-1 Caio Borrahlo, the natural. Now, this is going to become an invoice after a controversial loss at UFC on ESPN 57, which was stopped in a controversial fashion. Now, this was after back-to-back wins versus both Sean Strickland and Marvin Vettori, which could have placed him back within the earshot of that middleweight championship. Now, speaking of his opponent and speaking of what's happened, Cannonier stated, I think he's going to be in trouble even if he does get me down, because he's not going to be able to keep me down. And if he ends up on the bottom, it's not going to be too good for him down there. So I've got all the confidence in my ground game, and I don't know why people think my ground game isn't good. I haven't been submitted in the UFC. I haven't been submitted in my career. Now, Jared has yet to fight the current middleweight champion, Still Knox, and it's something that he's looking forward to with a win. And with the list of fresh names that are on top of that list, voice, on top of everything that Kyle brings, he's hoping that this Saturday night to, quote, go in, do my thing Saturday night, and try to raise some eyebrows, wow the crowd, and put my name back in the mix. Voice, I mean, he's seen it all. He's a great fighter. He's probably more at the end of his career. I believe he's about maybe 39, 40. What are your thoughts on him actually coming back after that controversial loss at UFC? Was it 57?
Mm-hmm. I may be an outlier. Was the stoppage quick? Yes. Was it uncalled for? I don't know. I thought that it was a fair stoppage. That's just me. I thought it was a fair stoppage. I get why he feels as if it wasn't. He's a fighter. You know, fighters even, or I should say, oftentimes with fighters, even when they're totally out of it, they're still stumbling around. No, I can fight. No, you can't. So I understand why he may feel that way. This is an excellent fight, though, with Caio Borralho. Caio is definitely on an upward trajectory, where Cannonier, with that loss, is kind of slowing down. And as you stated, you know, he is getting up there in age. He turned 40 in March, and that's not a bad age for a fighter if you were a heavyweight. So, and he did fight at heavyweight. So if you went back up to heavyweight and fought at 40, not a big deal. Middleweight, not so much. Pretty much for any of the lighter weights, I want to say the oldest champion may have been 36, 37. And then after that, you don't see much positive happening in the lighter weight classes. It's going to be interesting because this fight is the fight for the fight to fight the fight. I know that was a whole bunch of fighting, so let me step back and explain it. This is the fight before the fight. The winner of this fight will get a chance to have a much more meaningful fight that should put them as the number one contender. But they've got to get past this to do it. As you stated, he, being the Killer Gorilla, has not faced the now champion Dricus Du Plessis. He has faced the man who he will face next in Sean Strickland and defeated him. So there's a story to be made there, and there's a possibility that he can get back to that spot if he's successful. Where with Caio, again, he's only lost one time, and that was not in the UFC. He's an extremely well-rounded fighter. I know Cannonier was talking about if he gets to the ground, people are concerned about me and concerned about the fight. Of his 16 wins, being Caio Borralho, 7 of them have been by decision, which means that the other 9 were by stoppage, and they were even as far as stoppages are concerned. He had 5 knockouts and 4 submissions. So people may be talking about his ground game, but he actually has more knockouts than he has submissions. And in the last 5 fights, he picked up 1 of each. Knocked out the last person he fought, had a decision, and then submitted the person just before that. So again, the fight nerd, as he's being called, Caio Borralho, is definitely on his way up. But for both fighters, this fight determines where they're going as far as things are concerned. If Caio loses, he takes a step back. He's still young, still got time, and can come up. If Jared loses, he needs to either change weight classes or he's going to need to probably find something else to do, because his days and or his pursuit of championship is based on his victory on Saturday night.
That's a good point. I mean, they like we said, there's some faces on this list now in that middleweight ranking that Jared can be confident about. And then, of course, there's a few that are challenging. But when you look at the ones who are challenging, you have to question those. I mean, we take a look at it. Of course, you have Du Plessis. He's never faced him. He's defeated Sean Strickland. Israel Adesanya, that was actually his last loss, I believe.
Before
that was about,
he lost to Imavov.
Yeah, before. Well, okay, yeah. So we're counting Imavov. Imavov happened, and with a lot of people voice feel like it was ended too quickly, and that the refs stopped the fight. So you have to wonder exactly what would have happened had that fight continued. He lost to Israel by decision. I don't think he's faced Robert Whittaker.
He has. He lost to Robert Whittaker.
Did he lose to Robert Whittaker?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll stand corrected. But he's beaten Marvin. He hasn't faced Brendan Allen. So there's a number of people on that list that if he wins, it puts him in a great position, especially considering the fact that Sean Strickland right now is, number one contender. So do you feel as though, so you said that if he loses, he should maybe change his weight class. Do you not see a path to where maybe if he takes this loss that he can fight his way back? Because right now he's 5th and the natural is 12th.
Yeah. It'd be hard to fight back from this because of all the other fighters that are out there. We did not talk about Hamzat, who is waiting in the wings. You talked about Brendan Allen. Yeah, he's out there. But you've got people up and coming like your Bo Nix. You have a number of other fighters that are competing that, again, are on the rise and are on the right side of the fence when it comes to age. You're 40 years old. You've been fighting for a long time. You used to fight at heavyweight and then light heavyweight, and now you're fighting at middleweight. There's only so much that the body can take. And that's why I feel like if he is not successful in this fight, he either needs to change weight classes or he's going to have to do some long, hard evaluations when it comes to the possibility of being a champion. Now, maybe he can go to PFL and win their tournament and be a champion, but even that's a long shot. He really has to take a long, hard look at what he wants to do if championship goals are still in his view post fight. If he loses, again, all this is contingent upon him losing to Caio Borralho. He may go in there and wreck him, and all this conversation is just that, it's conversation. But if he were not to win, he's got to take a long, hard look at what his future is going to be.
Well, I mean, if he wrecks him, it's definitely going to be a surprise to many. Caio has not tasted defeat since his pre-UFC days in 2015. So that's going to be interesting to see. Make sure you all follow The Voice on X so you can get those updates and those details. Voice got those spicy takes, and he's going to give you that round by round breakdown of who's in and who's out. Thank you all. This is what we do. MTMV Sports. Amazing things. But before we go, we got some last fights for you to get into. Voice, go ahead and give us your last fight, sir.
All right. So as I stated, we talked about PFL and talked about maybe some things going on over there. We have the finals of the playoffs this weekend where the featherweights and the welterweights will be fighting. You have Brendan Loughnane, who made a name for himself on Dana White's Contender Series. He's going to be fighting and hoping to win that championship once again. And then, of course, you have the welterweights that are going to be doing their thing. Also, you got a lot of regional MMA going on. KSW has a card. I want to say the ACA has a card. We're in the looking for a fight season, and those have been some interesting fights that have taken place on the last couple of Tuesday nights. LFA has a card. Road to UFC has something going on. It's just a lot of fights going on this weekend. Not too much on the boxing end, but a lot of MMA in the future if you're a fight fan this weekend.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, the main card. It's always smoke o'clock here. Thank you all for tuning in with us. MTMV Sports. We are the fans. We do all the work so that you can just sit back, learn exactly what's going on, and enjoy your sports weekend. We have some of the best shows out. I'm not going to name another show because Voice got me in trouble last week because of sport. Of course, C mentioned it and was like, yeah. So I'm not going to do that. There's a number of shows. Make sure y'all go like, share, subscribe. We are on all podcast networks that you want us to be on. And you can always watch us on YouTube and see these wonderful faces. Voice, take us out.
I do want to mention, though, the broadcast of this will take place afterward. I do want to mention ProBox has a really, really good card on Wednesday where somebody that you would like very much is fighting. You got Jared Hurd, who I believe is from Philadelphia, taking on Jason Banana Rosario. So that fight is going to be bangers. I'm looking forward to watching that soon and very soon. But until next time, fight fans, fight the good fight.